Just logging in to the chat.
I was thinking it might take us a little bit of time to figure out what the scope of what we're talking about is. A discussion in itself before we get into
true.
it. Because I had a chat with these guys before, and I asked them how many to-do items can you have in your head as a list?
Ooh, that's good.
And then we spent 45 minutes discussing the boundaries of the question. You know, what constitutes a to-do list? Is it to survive in life? Is it a choice? Like, what's the difference between a choice and a thing you have to do versus something that's something that will improve your life that is extra than what you could do to survive? Anyway, it went in a lot of different directions. It went in a lot of different directions.
It is deep. Okay. Okay, I'm logged in to the chat. All right, sweet. So if anyone
does jump on,
then
we'll come to them at the end.
All right, that sounds good. Okay. All right, so the key thing we're talking about this episode is how many things can someone hold in their head, and is that...
Yeah, there's so many ways that chat can go, but yes, I think that's a good question.
It's a great question.
How many things can you hold in your head?
Yep. And it's very relevant for creatives because it's generally an entrepreneurial or a solopreneur's journey or a solo operator's journey. There's the creativity, but then there's everything else. It's like, how am I living?
It's survival.
Yeah, how am I surviving here?
It's improving your day-to-day survival.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, whatever that takes for whatever.
Yeah, and so you've got all the tasks and to-dos and the opportunities and that's even before you think about the creative options of developing creativity and all the tasks involved in that realm and that bucket.
But if you say how many things can you hold in your head, well, we're talking about memories as well. No, we're talking on
tasks.
Tasks to do, like.
Yeah.
Let's link it back to. I can see the visual of a to-do list.
Yeah.
A checkbox list is our kind of visual equivalent.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Yeah. So how many things should you be holding? Can you be holding?
We were saying out here, it depends on what kind of brain you have.
Oh yeah.
People have different capacities.
Yeah.
But one thing we all agreed was we all have to use a physical written version because we are at capacity already.
Yeah.
Probably just with life.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we should record. Yeah.
Do you think, is it a headphones on thing still? Or is it like, that sounds pretty good.
We generally don't have to monitor. Maybe it's a ditch the headphones situation.
It's a bit more just natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll leave me in case we are worried about something, but
No, all right. I think we've progressed in our podcasting journey. We're now a headphones off podcast.
We're all right. This one first. Have you hit record?
I have. We've been streaming.
Oh, have we? I haven't even introduced. We haven't even welcomed the viewer.
No, we haven't.
Oh shit! It's a live stream. We haven't even welcomed the viewer. You didn't count me. I thought you'd give me the 1, 3, 2, 1.
Clap.
No clap.
No.
I thought that was part of our thing.
Nah, well, now it is.
It can be, but like you just said, we are on a new part of our journey as podcasters. We've got a live audience. We actually haven't hit record yet. That's our pre-episode chat.
Yeah, it is.
So that's cool.
No, it's full BTS. Like, that's authentic BTS. You didn't even know we were rolling, so.
Yeah, that's authentic. I'm going to hit go.
Okay,
all right.
Go.
Today's chat's a bit freestyle, so I reckon we just do the intro from the get-go.
Yeah.
All right, rock and roll.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to another episode of Country Creatives. We're your hosts, Reese and
Caleb.
How you doing, mate?
Great. I'm doing really well. And today's episode is it's a bit different, but it's unique and wonderful in its own way because we have a third perspective, a third entity in the room with us. It is a camera. Oh my goodness. We have been audio only, and can I just say, some people on audio only media say, they've got a voice for radio, but no, not you and me, buddy.
I like that. If I had have known, I would have shaved, trimmed up a little bit. Now I've got to think about my appearance when I'm recording. We at least haven't dressed up. We're both wearing hoodies.
Yeah, that's right. So we are live streaming to YouTube right now. So the cool thing about this, I think we dropped it in the last episode,
and we acted quick.
Yeah,
we said it last week, and you pulled it off this week.
Yeah, which is I like that, right? But we are live streaming on YouTube right now, which is pretty unique because it's the behind the scenes. Like Amy, as we've mentioned many times before, Amy makes us sound amazing. But if you jump on the live stream, you'll hear us as we are, un-Amyified.
It's a bit uncut. We just had a bit of a we're trying to clarify what our episode's about today, and you'll only see that on YouTube.
Yeah,
but it was kind of a good chat in itself. We're like, oh shit, we better record.
Yeah, and that always happens.
Too far into it.
Yeah. So if you're a long-time Country Creatives listener, or you want to hear the bits that get cut out, or just get a bit more of an authentic touch, or you want to have a question that you've got actually featured in an episode, we've got the live chat here, and we'll reference and come to that at certain parts in our episode. And we may, if there's some good questions in there, we'll call them out and we'll comment on what people are saying and thinking in there. So if you want to be involved in that, then head over to YouTube and hopefully.
Yeah, at Country Creatives on YouTube.
Yep.
All right, well, let's jump into the episode
right.
now. I sprung a bit of a question on you yesterday, I think, and it was like, I was at a bit of a peak of like I'd been productive. The day wasn't over yet, but I'd been really productive even all week. I've done a lot of tasks. I felt like I was a little bit at capacity of being able to productively manage my time anymore.
Yeah,
I'd done it, and I think I just asked you. We were chatting about, how many things can you keep in your head before it gets all too much? Like, what's the human capacity for that?
What's the healthy level of things that you should be expected to, like externally and internally, hold in your head? How many things should someone else expect you can hold in your head? How many things do you think you should be able to hold in your head? And where's the healthy balance there? And
there's a lot of we'll have to spend a little time getting some clarity on what we're talking about, because this can go in so many directions. But I was thinking about it like a to-do list, like a visual checklist.
Yep.
What are those things? And are there subcategories to the checklist?
Yeah, of course. So you think through, everyone will relate to this. You've got your different buckets of tasks and to-dos. You've got the creative practice bucket, and that has like learning and development tasks in it. It's got new things you want to experiment with. It's got actual projects that you're working on at the moment, and all of the tasks to do with those, like who do I need to get back to? What are some timelines that exist? And then you've got, if you're running your own business as well, or a side hustle, you've got all the administration things, like the administration of finances, of invoicing, of compliance if you're running a business. They're two massive buckets, but all of these things have action items that you think, I've got to get to do this, or I want to do this, or I have an idea. Where do I put that? It's all floating around in the old noggin, and sometimes it gets all a bit too much.
Before we get to like, what are our strategies for managing this, I kind of like the thought experiment around what is our capacity without externalizing it.
Yeah.
And so you've just talked about a couple of leading points. If you're watching, for the live viewers, they would have seen me taking some notes while you're chatting there, Cam.
Yeah.
So I thought we might just extend this this a little bit. You said learning and developments around yourself, like the things that you want to get better at, achieve in life, that they're not necessarily essential to your survival.
No.
They're development, self-development.
Yep.
I didn't write on here survival.
Yeah.
We need to do daily things to survive.
Yep.
Feed,
Yep.
poo, eat. I said eat twice. Okay, I'll move on from survival. It kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Administration tasks, life administration is almost
that's a
on
whole
its
nother
own.
bucket. Yeah.
And then you've got the
business administration. Yeah.
going to work, having a job.
Yeah. All of the elements. Like if you're employed, then your timesheets and who you're reporting to and what you are saying in those reports and what your KPIs are and making sure you're hitting them and blah, 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 blah.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of things to keep in the noggin there.
Yeah.
There's like timelines, keeping a calendar, the events you're expected to attend.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, your calendar.
And you said in here projects.
Yeah. Like what are your it's the administration, but also the delivery of projects. Where is that project up to?
In a business perspective?
Well, yeah, in a creativity, if you're running a creative practice, right? Or you are employed in a creative role, the projects that you're responsible for delivering, what are they up to? What do you need to do on them next? What are the question marks?
Let's add to projects the self-initiated projects.
Yeah, totally.
Things that you do because you want to achieve this little project, you want to make a thing.
Yeah, some podcast that you thought would be a good idea, and there's lots happening there.
Doesn't have to make money.
Doesn't have to make money.
Okay, well, we found a pocket. We found where our project lands in here.
That's right.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories.
Yeah, and that's not even to starting to talk about relationships and community. So that's huge.
Already, there's a huge gamut.
Yeah.
I don't know where we should really start on which one to focus on. I guess for our audience, it's around the creative lifestyle.
Yeah, it is. But I think we have to. There's a few philosophical kind of things we need to tackle here. Is one. I think it falls into two areas: culture and intrinsic capability. So I'll explain what I mean about those two. So in terms of culture, we need to reflect on what are the influences that our culture has on our own expectation of what we do and what we can achieve and how we're supposed to achieve that. And then the intrinsic capability one is, what do we actually believe about the capability of humans and how we are able to function? And we had a bit of a fun little tangent on that track, and I don't know if we'll get there, but that was kind of fun yesterday. But about thinking about, well, what are humans actually capable of, and how do they best function?
We just so people know, you can't just leave them with a tease like that. We were talking about the origin of humanity.
That's right.
Just a small tangent. Tennis. Yeah. Okay. So right. Let's not go down that rabbit hole right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go with the culture one because it feeds back into that. So. We need to assess what are the expectations that our culture places on us, and in Western, that's where we are, Western culture. How do we approach productivity and life, and what expectations are set on us that feed into how we approach life, how many things we try and fit in our head, and what those things are. I would say. Now, it's a big chat, right? But I want to narrow in on one specific element that I've identified in our modern culture that is hampering and halting or limiting our capability to be productive and effective humans. And it is isolation.
Isolation.
Yeah. So I'll expand on that a little bit, right? My experience and my belief is that humans are made to flourish and thrive within community. Now, that's not an outlandish concept. It's one thing people go, oh, yeah, I think so. I think that's right. But
we're pack animals.
We're not animals, but yeah, that we thrive in community. We're made for that, right? This is where we do best, is when we're connected to other people. But the question is, what does the community look like in our culture at the moment, and do we do that well? And what are we missing out on there? I would say that of the greatest successes that I've seen around the world and in industry, it's when there's a community built around them that is striving in the same direction. And I think that's only a shadow of what's possible when people are in community. I'll give an example, like basketball in the States, for example, is a big community focus where a lot of different colleges and higher education and community of people, wider public audiences are driving towards excellence, and they focus on it, they care about it, and there's groups that are all working towards excellence in basketball. And that's where we see some of the best basketballers in the world come from the United States, because that is a community focus of theirs, and there's community built around that. For another example, we see in different periods of art, in like the Renaissance period, there was a whole bunch of incredibly famous artists now that we look at and they go, wow, they're all phenomenal. But we look back and they were actually linked to each other. They were actually in community together. If I was more of an art whiz, I'd tell you all their names, but you can look them up, right?
I think to like more broadly, when you start off by saying the word culture, and then you explain two very distinct aspects of culture. Humanity's cultures has many different little angles, right? But I think what I'm hearing you saying is, like, when people join together with a bit of a focus, energy, and passion, and interest, that really amazing things happen from there.
Yeah, it is, but I think that's only the start, right? Like, our culture is very isolationist. We each family unit has their own house. We all have our own resources, and many have exactly the same things. We all have a mower, or we all have certain tools and things, and we don't collaborate in life.
Not like we used to.
No, not like we used to, and not like many other cultures still do. And so it got me thinking as I'm pondering on this, and I'm building some really close friendships in my life that I haven't really experienced before, and they're fueling my who I am. To a new level. And this is kind of what's kicked me off thinking about this, is like, what are we missing out on as a culture by being so isolationist, where we think people, we know people, but do they really know us? And are we doing life with people? And is there some capability that a whole arm and pillar of life that we're missing out on by not having anyone that we're journeying with, and not just like one person, but like a community of people that we're like, we value being connected together. We value each other and the thriving and flourishing of each other, and we play active roles in achieving that. It's like, looking at someone and saying, I can call you my brother, or my children saying, I've got like 10 uncles. But none of them are blood related. That we are going somewhere together, and we are stronger together. that's kind of what's led me down this track and thinking when we're talking about how many things can you hold in your head, what's the human capability and what does balance look like? I think we're only working with what we're given and the environment we're a part of. But I think we're missing out on something, an element of life that can enhance our capability without adding stress and without adding like a load to us. And I think one of those things is real and deep community.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like Bendigo's kind of and regional Victoria, regional Australia has this badge of community.
Yeah,
I think that we do live it. Like we're amongst a community of creators right now by recording in the Emporium Creative Hub.
And I think it's growing, right? So I think collaboration is a key in community within an industry. If you don't have that as a value and an understanding of how you collaborate, then you need that before you can build further. But I think we've still got further to go. I think we're seeing pockets of it, and I think you're right. It's reflected in regional communities somewhat, as more as a blanket kind of thought. But I think we're only on the start of the journey, Reese. And I think that as we, for example, I'll take the Emporium Creative Hub community as one. As an example, if we continue and to build and grow as more connected as people, and we know each other a little bit more, and we get to collaborate more, it builds momentum, and we actually build on that momentum. It's not like it becomes a little bit of a hockey curve. I think it's my prediction for the future. If we continue on this path that we're on, we'll see exponential increase in the amount of people within the community thriving within their creative practice, because we're building on each other's knowledge, skills. We're drawing from the people that are closest to us for skills that we lack. We're getting encouragement and wisdom that we didn't come up with from the people around us, and we're feeding back in the same way. It's similar to my perception of like compound interest, or it's the principle of compound interest. You don't start from the start. Not every person is on their own journey. Where as we grow and develop, there's an exponential increase to the success that we all experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's holy shit. I don't like. I'm glad Amy can edit stuff out. But if you're watching this, like, so many things in that whole pointer that you just made.
Yeah.
Started from the word culture.
Yeah.
The only thing I was jumping onto the thought of collective energy.
Yeah.
Like you're putting energy in to a pool of other people putting energy in, and everyone benefits from that momentum of energy.
Yes, and there's more that's a good way of putting it. That pool of energy is much larger than any one individual can produce themselves, but each member draws from it.
Yeah, that's right. If we come back to how many things can you hold in your head, there's only it's almost like relying on other people potentially. Like we need to rely on other people to hold certain skills. Well, God, we're just like explaining how our world works on a weird level. But
it's true though, and it's good because this idea. Let's bring it back to practical land. When we're talking, how many things can you hold in your head, and what should you be expected to? If you are within community, like I'm collaborating with Amy on a few projects, right? I don't have to hold all of the elements of that project in my head because I'm collaborating with her, and she's bringing her skills and expertise to it that I don't have. And so now on the one project, I've got, for argument's sake, 50%. I'm only needing to hold 50% of that in my head.
Yeah. for example.
Yeah.
That's great. It kind of seems obvious, right?
Yeah, it does. But
Like-
until you call out and you go and make it practical, like you think about your own practice and projects, and you think, well, I'm not sharing this load with anyone. That's going to be most people's experience, and for a lot of my journey, that's been my experience, where I'm not sharing any of the things in my head. They're all on my shoulders.
And there are certain things that should just be on your shoulders.
That's
you
correct.
know?
Yeah,
and
that's
all
right.
of us carry those things,
Yeah.
which is totally normal. I love the sentiment that if we couldn't create a written checklist, how would we keep track? And it would have to be a communal effort
It
to
would.
hold
Yeah.
all of the information and the tasks and the processes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a massive track you could go down there with reflecting on and observing from an outsider's perspective Indigenous culture and how they transferred information and you recorded maps and things. It's the idea of song lines and the concept of embedding wisdom and meaning in stories. They were leveraging the power of stories before we were on this land, right? So
Yeah, it's it's the power of the narrative
yeah,
as
that's
the-
right.
as the essential part.
Yeah, but that's right. But let's get back into what does this mean and how can because everyone is generally going to be walking around with a whole bunch of things, and they're like, you may be listening thinking this is all great, Caleb, but how do I alleviate some of the pressure in my mind? And I mean, let's talk a bit about some of the reasons why people might be feeling a little bit pressurized and feeling like there's more going on now than there was. We've recently come out of a period of 2 to 4 years of really low tempo in terms of work responsibilities and other
Well,
things.
we've been I reckon we're a little bit past that.
We are
Because
we are.
coming out of COVID, we hit an incredible tempo.
We did.
We were itching at the gate to just come blasting out of there.
Yeah.
And I think the tempo's actually dropped from that initial reopening of the gates a little
Yep,
bit, but
yep.
it's like we're expected to maintain a higher tempo constantly.
Yeah.
Off the back of that.
Yeah.
And the other component of that, I've lost my train of thought on that one, but
Was it AI? Were you on there?
I think AI is a little bit of comes into play here.
Yeah.
We're expected. I was making the analogy yesterday while we were playing table tennis with Craig.
Yeah.
That back in the day when you could only send letters, imagine
Yeah.
how slow it would be to make business happen. You
Yeah.
have to send a
Well.
letter to another country
Yep.
to get a letter and wait for a response to make
Yeah.
any kind of decision.
Yeah, and that communication process is a long time period.
Where now we can send 150 emails at the click of a button.
Yep.
But practically to make different, if it was a to-do list and you had to, each email had a separate purpose.
Yeah.
You can still do 10 in an hour.
Yeah,
easy.
yeah, easy.
Whereas in the day, and then you wait for a response 24 hours. So you've made these big things happen in 2 days instead of 25 days.
Right. So we've got lots of technology that's accelerated the speed of communication. You saying and you reckon that has had an impact and increased the expectation of what we are capable of and what we need to do?
We've all just accepted that we can do more, so we do more. We
Yep.
be more efficient because we have the tools to be more efficient.
Well, there's the question. Is because we have more technology available and we can do things faster, has that made us more efficient?
It depends on which part of the scale you're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think isn't there evidence to show that we are more efficient? If you think about, what people have been able to achieve 300 years ago versus what they can achieve now, an individual's impact and networks and spread has a different kind of scale and...
Yeah, I don't know about that. I look at Leonardo da Vinci, for example, and the amount of inventions that he created. without any of the technology we have today, except for the written implements. Would I say there are, and Tesla, for example, Nicholas Tesla, what has been achieved in the past, I would say, is very much equivalent to what's achieved today, if not more impressive.
On an individual level. You've just named two people who made astounding revelations for whatever industries they were in.
Yeah.
Now we are all afforded. We could code, we could 3D model, we could 3D print. Or anyone can actually make. Anyone has the capacity, or it's an enhanced capacity to do way more stuff that sometimes certain people were afforded the opportunity to be great because they, it was lucky they had enough money to have a laboratory. Or it was lucky that their parents were connected to the university and that led them down a pathway. But now you could choose. We are afforded the opportunity to choose any pathway. Or a lot more pathways. And we can all we can equally access. We can't. There's not a full equal access, but
there has been a democratization of technology, right? So it's there are not the same barriers to technology as there was. That is without question true. But then we think, yes, we have greater access to the technology and the tools, but does that mean we're all going to use them better?
Not always, and not all. No, of course not.
So there's two elements to this question. What are people's capabilities, and what should they be expected to achieve? Is the person's capability, and then there's the tools available. So we were talking yesterday about AI, and how a report or a document or an article that you may have taken 3 days to write, you could very easily say that you could write that in 1 day now.
That's a direct quote by me.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I love that. You just quoted me back to me.
I thought it was a good subject.
No, I like that. I really appreciate it.
Quote Reese Hendy. And so now
you have a good memory. You can hold lots of things in your head, mate. You just displayed it then.
Thank you.
I'd kind of thrown it away after I said it.
No, it was a great point. So you think, yes, now we can do things faster, but does that mean we should be expected to, quote Reese Hendy, produce 3 times the amount of work because we can do it, whatever it is, percentage faster?
I have a real disdain for that thought, for that expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. Why?
Like, it just feels forceful that we have to pick up this pace.
Yep.
Like, technology is annoyingly helps us be more efficient. Now I have to remember 3 reports instead of 1.
Yeah.
In more things to remember in less amount of time for me to even work with the AI.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And we get back to what we talk about in value-based pricing a lot and sales. I'm taking a little bit of a pivot here. But it's a question of what is more valuable. Is the time taken to produce something determine the value of that thing? Or is it the skill required to create that thing determine the value?
I think that's very important for the creative industries to understand as we adopt new technologies.
Yeah.
Is that it's the value created from what we do that's the most important thing, not the time we spent making it.
No, because, I mean, you can look at, let's take design, for example, because that's an easy one. It might take a designer who's just starting out, it might take them a week to iterate, to come up with different concepts, to refine to the point where they get one that's really good and it's got lots of work put into it and it just reflects exactly what it should and it's great. Someone who's been doing it for 20 years might be able to do that in an hour. Might be able to come up with a logo design, for example, in an hour. Now, should the one who's been able to do it in an hour, should they charge less for that logo than the one who's just started and needed to take a week to do it? Which one's more valuable?
I take this for granted that everyone has the same understanding of this, that value is inherent. But for non-creatives, they don't see it always that way. And if you're a creative who hasn't thought about that yet, just jump on board.
Well, the concept is that you need to disconnect the value of something from the time it's taken to produce it, because that's as that example illustrates, it's not a good measure of value. Time is incredibly valuable, but the value of an asset that you create shouldn't be linked to the time that it's taken to create it. And it's a helpful thing for, say, sculptors or artists, and it's a helpful thing for you personally to say, what do I need to be paid for this product to exist?
For me to exist and for this thing to...
Because I've only got so much time, and I need to leverage that time to a minimum standard to be able to live. So that's helpful from that perspective, what your minimum price is. But it should not be, for example, in that a proficient designer, if you are able to work out what value this holds for the customer or the client, then that is by far a more accurate or more helpful method of determining value. How much is this worth?
It's also really tricky compared to time is easier to quantify than potential or perceived or actual value in the real world.
That's right.
But I want to try and bring it back a little bit to our
let's
topic.
Do it. Yeah.
What the rabbit hole we just went down was a little bit about how to be selective about what your brain holds.
Yes.
And you have to make decisions about where you're going to focus your limited amount of resource.
Yeah.
And that needs to be a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are you going to balance all of the things?
This is real to me right now because, I struggle with opportunities and
the next shiny new thing.
I suffer from shiny object syndrome no one else. We're probably exactly the same in that regard. And the more time you have in an industry and the more experience you get, the more opportunities come your way. And many of them, to me, sound really, really good.
They're all really good. Usually, most of them are really good.
Most of them are great.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you select? How do you be selective of those, and how do you release them from your mind? Whoa, that's a good one.
I was watching a YouTube video the other night about this guy who called it a graveyard. He had this sheet that he just... It's a space, or at the end of a doc, say you're writing a book.
Yep.
And as you go to refine the book, you decide that, this paragraph, I don't want to delete it, but I don't want it to be in there anymore.
Yeah.
And he copies, he cuts it out, puts it straight in the graveyard, which is the last page of the document, and just any thoughts, any brain farts, anything can go into the graveyard. And he does that for, say, per project. Writing a book's an easy example to explain. And then there's the graveyard of general ideas where you just, feel free to drop anything in there.
Yep.
Especially if it's not a thing you're focused on right now, but you're like, I would love to do that one day.
Yep.
And then he elevates the parts of his life that he does want to focus on and starts to create to-do lists specifically around those that become embedded into your lifestyle.
Great. There's two things that I hear in that process, and I love it. It fits in with the completion process. That is to start something, to continue it, to finish, and then to acknowledge that you've done it. And unless you complete that cycle, the process isn't finished. The idea is still stuck in your head.
Oh, okay. Yes, sorry. Yes, the process of completing thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right. The thing's
Or-
still stuck in your head. Unless you complete that full cycle, it's still in your brain.
You popped it somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
okay.
what I love about what you've just described in the graveyard is that it's an intentional action that you have attributed an end to that concept or that idea, and it is no longer in your head because you've actually put it somewhere, and you have the understanding that this area, this graveyard area, if I want to, in the future, I go, let's have a look for some new ideas.
Yeah.
I've got this graveyard
Yep.
full of them.
Yep. Exactly. So you're freed.
You are
of that.
freed of that idea because it's placed somewhere that can be referenced later. It's not in your head anymore.
And then
I love that.
And the ones that you do choose to be good at, I got a bit mistaken there when you said it's completed, because a lot of the tasks were never actually completed. If you want to learn piano or become
Yeah.
a better drawer,
Yeah.
these are daily tasks you have to embed into your life to get better at a thing you choose to get better at.
Yeah. The learning and development kind of task list is, the subject of getting better, let's say for piano, is could be a life pursuit. You're never going to finish that. It's not but that means it's not really a task. It's a goal. It's a
Practicing every
aspiration.
day is a task.
Exactly. And
to
learning a new
achieve
song
that
is a
asp-
task.
Yeah.
And being able to reach a full octave with one hand is a task. And so there will be elements of things you need to do, like actions you need to complete to fulfill that task. And so they are things that you can get out of your head with some really practical methods. We're
Yeah.
actually, I reached out to a guy that I met. I'm going to have to look him up.
Caleb, play some waiting music over our YouTube live stream here while Caleb looks up something on the internet. Are you glad you're here for this?
Totally. See, this is the behind the scenes gold.
BTS. And if anyone actually sees this one,
Yeah.
it's like an Easter egg. No, it's not an Easter egg. What do you think of the set? Give us an idea for what we do for the set here. We were coming up with some ideas about randomizing it every time. Maybe we should get Andre's face on the table. We could hide things in there for our dedicated listeners. He's busy Googling. I'll just talk to you,
I've got
the
it.
audience.
I met this guy. His name's Les Watson, and called the Time Lord.
Time Lord. That is the best job description on a business card I've heard.
I'm the Time Lord. No, he's not Doctor Who, but he is the guy who gets you more time. So he's a productivity coach and efficiency coach. But I've talked about one of his processes on a podcast before. I'm pretty sure it was this one. He runs a business called Get More Time. But we're actually going to get him on the podcast.
Wow. I'm learning about this for the first
Yeah.
time, and I love it.
It's on the Trello.
Oh, okay. I haven't done I haven't.
But we are going to get him. I said, hey, do you want to jump on the podcast and share some of your wisdom? Because I think it fits really well into this topic. And rather than us trying to solve the world's problems here, we're kind of just shedding a light on it and really defining what the challenges are and how we approach it. But I think getting Les on is going to be a really good follow-on from here of what are some practical strategies you can do to get more time to release a fair amount of stuff from your brain.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's coming up.
I think we should definitely try not to be the experts on all these things we're chatting about. They're interesting topics to discuss,
and we're putting a voice to things that people will experience because there are many creatives just like us.
It was interesting. I was chatting to the guys in here before we started recording, and we had a really big discussion about. I asked them the question, how many things can you hold in your head? And then we discussed it for 20 minutes.
Wow.
About all the different variants on what that could look like. And I was like, wow, this is such a big topic. It's so good.
It honestly is. What are some of the things that you are hearing from the guys out there?
Wes Franklin mentioned it really depends on what type of brain you have
Oh yeah.
as to how you might categorize things, how you might process them, put them in an order. He mentioned like a way to become more efficient and consistent is about like stacking your to-do list in a routine that helps you remember, like it helps you become more productive, or
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Like habit stacking.
and on a day when we wake up, we have a glass of water, we eat something, brush our teeth, and like you've got this like you have to do X amount of things
You
before
don't even
you get
think
out the
about
door.
it. Yeah, you don't even think about it because it's a routine.
And so he was explaining that as a stacked routine.
Yeah.
And we can build that into our life. Like if you want to go to the gym more,
Yep.
but it's really hard to go to the gym, you can stack a routine or think about the smallest thing to start off in the process of going to
Yeah.
the gym is
Yeah.
grabbing the gym towel.
Yeah.
You got to put your shoes on, grab a drink bottle, get your keys, and get out the door. You know,
Yep.
or like whatever
Yeah.
that stacked routine is. If you
Yep.
just start the routine,
Yep.
or you think about being more conscious about.
That's so good. It sounds like Wes has read Atomic Habits. 'Cause
Yes,
that is-
correct. He quoted Atomic Habits.
But it is really helpful because my habit stack for getting out the door.
We discussed you
Did you?
and how you might stack your tasks.
That's interesting. What I do is I've identified that the biggest enabler for me to getting to a workout at 5:30 in the morning is putting my clothes out the night before,
Yeah.
so that I don't have to fumble around in the dark. That is something I say to myself in the morning. I don't know where any of my clothes are. So if I can alleviate that and I put all my clothes out, my shoes, my socks, my jocks, everything's in one place, I go there and I go, I'll just get up and put it all on and out I go. And that enables me to do the workout. It's
Yeah.
not getting the workout done. It's the first step.
Getting out the door. So yeah, it's quite amazing if you consciously make those kind
Yeah.
of decisions, the kinds of habits you could potentially create.
And that's cool because when we're talking about this idea of holding lots of things in your head, there's a process and a strategy like that. Habit stacking is actually getting things out of your head, but achieving things. You don't have to consciously think about brushing your teeth or doing all those things. They're not actually in your head, but you're still achieving them.
It's good for survival. It's not so good for urgent things that pop into our day-to-day
No.
life where we have to make
That's right.
decisions and snap calls and
That's the lifestyle thing, right? Is what kind of person do I want to be, and what do I want to do in a regular routine that will achieve me being the person I want to be? So, do I want to be fit? Do I want to be healthy? Do I want to have good mental health? Those are the type of things that you can achieve through unconscious action after deliberately developing some habit stacking things.
good way to embed it into your
Yeah.
baseline
Yeah,
life.
but then we're talking about, as you're saying, work life, regular life. New things come at you all the time that you have to decide to do something with. Do you file it away in the filing cabinet that has no more room in it in your head, or do you put it in the cupboard that's already bursting at the seams?
Yeah. I would like to suggest that we make an episode on this if you can add it to the Trello.
Okay, I've got it up here right now.
I think that there's a whole tips on how to decide what to do first. Because I've just done a project management course at RMIT, a
Have you
6-week
really?
thing.
Have you?
It's just an introduction to professional project management.
Ooh.
So it was really cool because I've had the project manager title for a while because I manage projects, but
Yeah.
I haven't had the lingo and the terminology that a professional project manager would have.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So,
that was
a bit of
really good.
upskilling there. I think I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, and they give you some there's a lot of really great ways to identify how to get to an end goal and manage all of the bits that come to achieving something.
That's cool.
With
It's on the list.
with timelines, urgent versus long term. Let's earmark that for another discussion because it's a whole thing in itself, right?
Great.
How many? So I'm going to attempt to wrap our episode up.
Okay, we've
with
got a lot
with
of
final
places.
kind of pointer.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
Question.
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. I'm ready.
What percentage of actions, tasks, to-do list items we are our culture and society? I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like it might be a fairly true blanket statement to say we all carry too many things to do.
Yep.
That we cannot actually rely solely on our brains. We need a diary or we need a list.
Oh,
We have exceeded our mental capacity.
Yeah.
Compared to, say, a more simple life when you just had to provide food and fire and shelter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's a very big difference.
Yeah. Look, it is.
Where we've come from.
Yeah. It is a very, very big gap. And, a little bit of what I was saying before is I think we're not as capable as we could be, but that's irrelevant somewhat to the point.
We're not as capable of surviving as if we were, just in a camp like that. Not many people would be.
No, that's true.
So it's completely different. The question I was going to ask was, like, what percentage of things do you think we hold in our brain versus store externally, whether it's in a client relationship manager or a project management system or a notebook and a diary or all of the things, the list on the fridge, the shared calendar with your partner. Oh my God, the combined amount of information we store outside of our brain to keep our lives running. What do you think the percentage of that would be?
Well, we're talking about trusted systems now. And I think a risk that people encounter nearly every day is having too many different places to store information.
Oh, yeah.
Way too many. But I think you're right in that to be an effective functioning human these days, you need to have a trusted system where you store information. And as to the percentage of how many things...
Just you, because everyone would have a different answer, but how
personally.
do you feel about it?
I actually think that... without thinking about it, my gut reaction is 70% of the information that I need to run my life is stored outside my brain.
Yeah.
What would you say?
It has to be. It's a gut feeling thing, right?
Yeah, because you could spend a long time analyzing it and going, "Oh, what bits and what."
It would be an interesting process to go down to to think about it in a focused session around what what things are stored outside versus what I keep in my head.
But what's your gut reaction? What's your
possibly even more than that?
Wow.
Because the information depends. Well, okay.
He's thinking now.
We have access to a world's collective information through the internet and encyclopedias and whatever.
What are they?
I helped my mate move some stuff out of his mum's house. God bless her soul. R.I.P.
Yeah.
And there was a world atlas book, and I was like, whoa, it was quite an impressive book.
Yeah.
And I said to Scar, his daughter, I was like, oh, look at this book here. How good's that? Like, imagine when AI takes over the world, or when we don't know what's true on the internet anymore because it's all been altered and we can never trust it. We're going to have to look back at books like this as a point of truth.
Oh, mate, you're speaking into the future there. That's 100% what I think.
And she said, ugh. I was like, that's so funny. But I took the book home because I had that in my head.
Nah, man.
This information will be valuable one day.
It will be. I honestly think it will because of the how changeable and it invisibly changeable things can be in digital format. You can't it's very, very difficult to have a point in time reference for what was true at what particular point, or what was recorded at a particular point in
There
time.
might be fake truths printed in this book because they simply didn't know.
No, yeah,
Or
there probably is.
There's an error, a typo.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
right. It doesn't mean that just because it's printed, it's true, but it does give you an unchangeable asset, right? That you can point to and say, at this time, this was the thought process. And that's really important,
Yeah.
especially if you've read 1984.
Yeah, totally. So there's two, in terms of the collective knowledge of the world.
Yes.
I'm like a grain of sand.
Yeah. Yeah.
In comparison, percentage wise. But in terms of to live my life and operate in a VUCA
What is that?
world. Oh, now hold on. I've got the wrong book. I've got my notes in the other book from my project management
What
course.
is a VUCA?
I got VUCA. Volatile, uncertainty, complexity,
Yes.
and what's A? Hold on. VUCA. A is ambiguity.
Yes. I looked it up. I didn't know that.
We live in a basically what that's saying
Yeah.
is we live in a complicated world.
Yeah. Well, that's true. We do.
And so we rely quite a lot on external documents, policies, all this kind of like things that we can't physically keep in our head that we have to abide by, laws. I would say probably if I thought about it and went deep on all of the things, all of the information that I might need to access to live my life by the law or by whatever, by certain standards at the workplace and other, that it would be like maybe 90% external if I went to that depth. But I could strip my life back and be more simple if I chose to be.
Yeah. Just go on that. What I was reminded about before was the show Alone. You know, that's real simplifying life, right? Back to survival. How long can you survive for on your own? And that's the only priority. That's the only task.
They only last a couple of months, mind you.
Most.
Yeah, exactly. Mind you, they put them in there like just at the start of winter, always.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, make it a real challenge. But I think that illustrates the point. You can't last a very long time without other people, which is kind of going full circle to what we were talking about earlier in terms of community is a human enhancement strategy. And it's universally talked about as a survival strategy. You can't survive without community. But then I would go a step further and say, look, we are not operating in deep community like we could be. And to thrive, to increase the way that we thrive individually, we need to lean more heavily into community.
At the moment, culturally, it feels like communities they have, over the last, say, 10 years or since the birth of the internet, there's been this drive to having online communities. And that's opened up a lot of possibilities and
Globalization.
Connections we never thought we could have with amazing people. You
Yeah.
know, there's a beautiful part to it. But losing the real world, like choosing to store all of our social connections and removing it from our head into the...
That's right.
I've got a bit of a thing at the moment around, because I've ditched social media.
Yeah.
I'm calling it direct media.
Direct media.
And if I see something and I think of someone,
Yeah.
I just drop them I send them a quick message, or I take a picture of it. I'm like, have a quick joke with them. And
Nice.
instead of broadcasting what I see to the world, I'm broadcasting it with intention to one person.
I like that. I really like that. And I think what we've seen, and we had an episode on social media, but briefly what it made me think of, your comment just then, is that social media maybe did start as quite a really good tool for socialization, for connection. But the inevitable greed of the human heart took over, and now we're just getting marketed to.
Well, we're complicated because if you tried to live a communal life, there will be other issues that pop up by living a true communal life. Right?
100%.
We're not unflawed.
No, we're not. I would say they're the good issues. But the the truth of the matter is that there's no black and white in many of these
I like how you
issues.
said the truth of the matter is there is no black and white.
The black
You
and
said
white
there
of
is no. You said there is. That was like a really
oxymoron.
complicated oxymoron, a riddled oxymoron. I like that.
unintentional.
I'm gonna write that down. The truth of the matter is not black and white.
Quote Caleb Maxwell.
Yeah, I'm gonna quote you back to yourself in another episode, mate.
But I think there is a lot of truth in that. Is that that there's so much of a grey area in humanity in our lives, right? That I was on a Zoom call this morning with a community that I'm in, and a lot of it's based online. But I can, hand on my heart, say that I've built genuine, real connection with these people. Is it as deep community? It's probably to the level that Western culture says community is great. I've probably built somewhat of a relative level of community there.
What's great about that is that it's niche.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
connect on a very specific topic
We do.
that not everyone, not many people share.
No, that's right. And that, I think that's a real big key part of it, right? Is that we're all driving in the same direction, and we're sharing and collaborating and sharing our wins and all that kind of thing. But this idea of how do we utilize the technology to be more effective? How do we what is appropriate and healthy use of technology for being more efficient and building community? There's a whole host of thoughts and discussions that could be had on those topics. But I think we've covered some good ground today.
We have no solid answers, but I think we're at a good point where we should leave it there.
Yeah, one thing I want to leave it with is that it's conversations like this that spark new thought in others, and that's one of the key parts of community in humanity is our ability to postulate, our ability to ponder, and it's in the conversation that new thought arises, and we build on a belief, or we form a belief based on what someone else thought or what someone else thinks. So even just by listening to conversation or being engaged in this conversation, we will build and transform how we view things and how we think about things, and that's actually a really key part of what progresses us forward.
Yeah, and if you've made it this far through this episode or this live stream, you might be the kind of person who would like to join the conversation.
Yeah.
So please feel free to jump on and comment to a video we've already posted.
Yep.
Or tune into one of our live episodes. We're going to make a regular time that we record this.
Yep,
maybe
we are.
fortnightly.
Yep.
We're still feeling our way through it.
Yeah.
But stay tuned for when we're going to do live streams, and we will very specifically ask our live audience to get involved at some point.
Yeah, we will.
So please let us know if that interests you.
Yeah. What you need to do is jump onto YouTube and search for Country Creatives. We are at Country Creatives. That's the handle for the YouTube channel. If you click the subscribe button, then you'll get and the little bell icon, you'll get a notification when we're going live. So that's cool.
Perfect. Yeah, and then you probably see if you miss one that it'll be on there.
It
looks like we've probably hit an hour on the live stream, and we're going to wrap up now with our podcast.
Yeah.
At 58 minutes. Who knows how long Amy will cut us back to?
You're revealing the behind the curtain there. If the episode's like 15 minutes long.
We spoke shit a lot for a lot of time then. All right.
Righto.
Until next time.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, live stream audience. You've been really cool, and hopefully
come on.
we'll make it work. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll see you again.
Yeah.
Or you'll see us again.